I'm Corbett Wall with DV Auction, here with your feeder flash for Monday, February the 27th, brought to you in part by Macrocin by Bimeda. Macrocin is a bold, straight-shooting telithromycin injection that does what it's supposed to do for you, for your cattle, and for your bottom line. For more information, go to macrocin.com. Also, Joplin Regional Stockyards going to have about 7,000 head for the regular Monday feeder cattle auction here today. They've been on a roll here ever since the new year. Joplin has just been posting big receipts, getting a lot of cattle in there, getting some big prices for them. They had $3 Pee-wee steer calves last week. I'm sure they'll hit that again or maybe more. They've got a lot of those light stalker types in there. Get an order into Joplin. If you've got yearlings to sell, they've got a great yearling market too, but check out Joplin Regional Stockyards on dvauction.com. Fats up $4 to $5 for the week last week. Boxes up 11 to 12. Both those dress bases, but the boxes of course including a lot more further processing. But don't feel sorry for these packers. They've been pretty much in the black going all the way through this rally here. And they can raise the prices that they get for their product $12 in 1 week. We saw them do that on the Select. They had $11 gain on the weighted average of all the movement on the choice. So they can pretty much set their prices. We have to scratch and claw for everything that we get. But I tell you what, they aren't feeling sorry for the packers in the Southern Plains, the handful of guys that sell negotiated cash, along with everybody else riding on their coattails and cheering them on from the bench. But they never let go of the cattle. Now, I'm sure there's some cattle that sold after 2 o'clock on Friday, but we're not sure if it was significant or not. I'll tell you all about the fat cattle market when we get to that point in the report. But still gained a bunch of ground on your fat cattle market this past week. Still gaining ground in the feeder cattle and calf market. Gained some ground in your futures. And we got a little bit of a foothold on our corn, as corn was down big this week. So it was a great week last week for your cattle people, for your cattle business, commercial cattle business. Corn, it's unbelievable. We didn't expect this. Normally we just trade in a narrow sideways range here on corn, but all of a sudden it was down 27 3/4 cents on the March contract, and all of them were down. And the only reasoning really behind it is we're just kind of transitioning from talking about the old crop, which is long gone, to the new crop as we're starting to focus on now. You can say what you want. Yes, it's been cold and all thing. All that snow they've got in the northern plains, that is moisture. All that snow pack sitting on those crops out there, not enough nitrogen, of course, for what you need, but more than just blowing dirt. Like we get some years. But I tell you what, people are expecting plenty of moisture. We might be late in our planting because it's going to take a lot of warmth and a lot of days of drying out there to get in those cornfields and get them planted. But we're a long ways from having to worry about that. But it's starting to look better than it has the last couple of 3 years as far as your moisture. And we kind of took out some support levels there late in the week, and this thing looks like it could drop even further down here as we go forward this week. But we had the cattle on feed report to come out on Friday. It was neutral, friendly neutral, I would say. The numbers come out neutral. They were all weighted just a little bit towards the friendly side, to the cattle market side, cattle people side, but all less than 1 percentage point. Most of them just a couple tenths of a percentage point, but still, anytime we can hit those marks with those analysts being pretty bullish too, I think it's a good thing, and I think it was supportive, and I think we'll see that going forward this week. But cattle on feed numbers, your February 1st inventories came in at 95.8. The average of the analyst guess was 96.1, so a little bit lighter than that. Your placements during January come in at 96.4, which is less than I had predicted and your average of the analyst guess was 97.2. I'm really surprised that they were that low because I haven't seen many signs of holding heifers back. But your marketings were strong, 104.1, and the average of the analyst guess was 104. All your placement weight groups were down. 6 weights were down the most, whether that means anything to you or not. But inventories were down in all of your 5 major feeding areas. Southern plains were down a little bit more than the northern plains, but still everybody down and running in the same direction. Let's talk about your futures market, cattle futures for last week. February live cattle futures, of course, Monday was the free day, and we enjoyed it very much with the board closed for President's Day. Tuesday was up $1.17. Wednesday was up 15. Thursday up a quarter, and Friday up a nickel. You don't see very often that every trading day in live cattle spot futures were up, although 3 of them were not up very much. But still, February contracts ended the week at 165.20. That was up 163, and that's still going to be a couple bucks premium to what our weighted average is going to be in the 5-area feeding region, and it's a bunch higher. So all of a sudden it's gone up a bunch, but your spot February has caught up with your April, and April's not running at any bigger of a premium, basically trading at the same level. They are expecting some seasonal pressure as we go forward here next month or two on our fat cattle trade. But you look at fundamentals, guys, I don't see why it should do anything but just keep gaining $1 or $2 every week. But April contracts ended the week at 165.37. That was up 72 cents for the week. March feeder cattle, Monday was closed, the board. Tuesday was up 35. Wednesday up $1.10. Thursday up $1.25, and then Friday off just 15 cents. But March feeder cattle ended the week at 189.07, up 255. April ended the week at 193.57, up 312 for the week. Like I said, your corn was a bunch cheaper. Ended the week March corn at $6.50 a bushel, down 27 3/4 cents for the week. Beans are actually up 1 3/4 cents, ending at 15.29. Talk about your fat cattle market. Up through Thursday of last week, we had sold 33,800 head. Most all of those in the northern plains. Your live sales of steers and heifers sold in a range from 160 to 166. It was mostly 162 to 164. You can chop those edges off, but 160 to 166 was $2 to $4 higher on the price spread. Your weighted average on live steers 163.65, about $2.50 higher than last week's weighted average. Your dressed sales ranged in price from $258 to $263. They were running $260 to $262 late in the week, but that spread on dress sales was $4 to $5 higher. Your dress steer weighted average was $259.93, up $3.15 on dress trade. That is really great. Friday, Iowa sold 2,700, only 24,200 head for the week, which is getting close to normal for them. They're usually around 30,000 there somewhere, but still didn't quite reach that. Live sales on Friday in Iowa, 162 to 164. Dress sales, 260 to 262. Nebraska had confirmed sales on Friday of 5,700, only 16,100 in Nebraska up through 2 o'clock on Friday. Not sure what happened late Friday. 163.5 to 164 live price. Dress sales 258 to 262. Kansas only sold 1 load confirmed on Friday. Had only sold 1,000 head all week last week in your Kansas feedlot areas. They would not give in. I assume 165 was what they wanted, and they never got it in the Southern Plains, so they did not sell. They sold 1 load of mixed steers and heifers in Kansas at 164 on Friday is all. Now Texas sold about 700 head on the Fed Cattle Exchange, and through competitive bidding on an online auction forum there, Your Fed Cattle Exchange sold cattle in Texas at 164.5. We hadn't seen that. So that's great. Gaining just a little bit, but it's going in the right direction, guys. Fed Cattle Exchange is gaining a little bit all the time. This last week they sold cattle from Texas all the way up to South Dakota. So keep an eye on that thing, and it's starting to be a trendsetter again. And I just love it whenever we sell cattle in a competitive manner of any kind. But Texas sold 700 head there on Friday, only 1,700 for the week in Texas. So no sales basically at all in the Southern Plains. Sure, a few guys gave in, probably at the 164.5 late in the week, but we'll find out here on our next visit how much we did trade in the Southern Plains. These packers are going to be extremely short bought coming into this week. Box beef cutout values, see what they did on their end. They just raised the prices. They just asked more for them. If the retailers want it, they buy it. If not, they don't. Of course, it doesn't have a shelf life. They got it cryovac sitting in a shelf in the freezer there, so it's not costing them. Everything's always their way, guys. We got to take this market when we got the opportunity to get it. Now's the time to take it. Enjoy every drop of it. Choice boxes, your weighted average on all of last week's trades was 286.64, up 10.98 for the week compared to the previous week's weighted average. Late sales were a little bit higher than that. Your late Friday afternoon sales less than $1 higher than that. So, but still sitting at the top. Select sales, your weighted average on all of last week's trades, up $12.15 at 273.10, and your late week sales were $4 higher than that. So they're just charging more for what they're getting it. They're passing it on. You know, they got to do what they got to do, and we got to do what we got to do. Your choice select spread on your weighted average last week was about $13.50. 484 loads of cuts, grinds, and trimmings. Slaughter was disappointing. Started out disappointing on President's Day and then just never seemed to catch up. But they're running really close to the knife, guys. And then we had some bad weather that kind of slowed things down in the northern plains. So 618,000 head harvested for the week. That's 9,000 less than the previous week. 33,000 less than the same week a year ago. Talk about your feeder cattle market, your real-time index on DV auction based on an 800-pound cash auction steer up through your middle 12 states there. Ended the week at 184.07. That was up $1.10 for the week on a 7-day moving average, guys. You look at your trends in the sale barns last week, mostly fell in the range from steady to $5 higher on calves and yearlings. But on those true stockers, there were spots on those hard stocker cattle that they're putting together, and they're going to keep them green and just kind of hold them until we get to early grass, weighing 650 to 750 pounds, sold sharply higher. And they will probably turn cattle out as heavy as they'll let them turn those cattle out, and sell steers coming off that grass, especially your double stock pastures, weighing 900 to 1,000 instead of 700 to 800 pounds because feed's so high. But look at some of your big sales. How about Mankato Livestock, Mankato, Kansas? They sold 4 loads of steers on Friday, ranged in weight from 810 to 891 pounds on the loads. Sell from 180 to 185. How about your Zoetta stick-out sale of the day? Was Friday in Lexington, Nebraska. Lexington Livestock Market sold about 2,250 head there, and your market was higher on steers on a good test. Few heifers sold a little bit cheaper in a light test, but your best tested weights 340 head. 7 weight steers averaged 752 with a weighted average price of 192.08. That was about $6 higher, guys. The next biggest one, got to take about 3 loads out of there that got reported twice because they had a mix up. 700 head of those. 8 weights averaged about 852 with an average price of 182.62. That was higher. Heifers, 204 head of those 5 weight heifer calves averaged 547. Weighted average price 206. Couple individual quotes for you. Late last week, How about Dunlap Livestock Auction in Dunlap, Iowa? They sold 68 head of steers, weighed 846 at $187.50. But the best quote that I saw anywhere late last week or over the weekend, your Mackerson, no BS, top quote for the day, come out of Burwell Livestock Market in Burwell, Nebraska. 77 head of NHTC steers, no hormones, average 712 pounds, bring $2.13 a pound. And that's your feeder flash for Monday.